Marketing teams have access to more data than ever before. We measure everything from clicks and impressions to conversions and customer touch points. But somewhere along the way, between the dashboards and the attribution models and the performance reports, it has become really easy to forget that there are actual humans behind all these numbers, behind all these reports. And yeah, data can tell you what someone did, but it cannot always tell you why they specifically did it, what they were feeling, or which story finally made them care about your company. Hello, and welcome to the Humans of Growth podcast, where we talk about the stories and strategies behind business growth and development. Today's guest is Pierce Kafka, the founder of Kafka Media Group, which helps companies with media relations and outreach, awards and speaking opportunities, and marketing analytics. In this episode, we're talking about the limits of data, why companies need to spend more time talking directly to their customers and not just about them, and how the stories hiding inside of sales calls and support tickets and customer conversations can become some of a company's most valuable marketing assets. Let's dive in. Pierce, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Excited to chat.
So, Pierce, I introduced a little of the professional side of you, but you're also a human last time we checked. So tell me in a sentence or a story, who are you as a human? What is bringing you joy right now?
Who am I as a human? Big question. Simple answer, storyteller. I love stories. I think that from an early age, it became clear that what resonated with people most when making anything or when trying to explain anything, it was the story and storytelling. So I think that it brought me on a long journey to understand that you can't just have something great. You have to, if no one knows about it. And so the stories that we create and craft either for ourselves or for products or companies is something that we can control, and we can think backwards, and we can tell our own stories. And so that's what brought me to where I am, and that's what makes us happy here at KMG.
So with storytelling, if we take the marketing out of it, what is the best story that you have ever told?
The best story that we ever told. Well, just in relevance, just thinking about it, I think the most fun from a marketer or storytelling would be the ones that you get to tell for yourself. So being here today talking about Kafka Media Group as a hobby, I also am a filmmaker. So I made a feature film that we're submitting to film festivals currently. And so the story that we're telling behind that could be one of my favorites, and that's a zero budget production feature film.
What's the storyline? Give me high level.
Okay. It's a psychological. It's a psychological thriller. Okay. Nathan, our protagonist, is a security guard camera operator. So he's watching monitors and he befriends the janitor at work, who kind of convinces him that you have to not just watch the world, but maybe insert yourself into it. And so what starts as maybe a friendship or motivation kind of divulges into murder. And so it's a fun ride.
Oh, that's a left turn out of there. Okay.
Yeah.
What film festivals have you guys submitted to?
Yeah, so we're currently submitting to a wide range. Last month we premiered at Indie Vegas Film Festival, and so that was exciting to win Best Director there. And next week we're going to be screening at Marina Del Rey Film Festival. Okay. And that's in California. So. Yep.
Okay. Did you submit at all to Sidewalk Film?
No, I haven't heard of that.
Okay, but, it's Birmingham. It's the one film festival I used to go to when I lived there.
Oh, I'm going to write that down because that sounds interesting.
So pivoting a little bit out of storytelling, behind every story is usually some level of data and vice versa. So what we've seen in marketing, whether you're working with small businesses up to your enterprise companies, is we all have data. Whether you're new on TikTok and Instagram and you're just kind of looking at the little analytics they show, or you have 17 marketing dashboards,
we all are inundated with like the data points behind everything, but we still consistently struggle how to understand the data and how to like integrate the data into what we're actually doing and how it actually moves people to think, buy, emote, act. What do you think that data, no matter how much of it we have, still cannot tell us?
I think you're 100% right that there's a large importance on data, and that when we do things, we want to know what the results are, what the variables were, so that when we try it again and as we move forward, we can do better. That's just in human nature. And in advertising, which is my background, commercial production, it's always been traditionally a lot easier, and it's even now more than ever easy to track clicks and likes and impressions and how much each how many ads or how many clicks result in revenue. But with earned media, which is predominantly what we do at Kafka Media Group, it's a little more abstract and a little harder to define. Yet people are still grappling for some kind of answers of the value and the return of, I'm on the cover of Forbes, but what does this directly mean? Like, what is my return on investment for this marketing company that was able to help me get on the cover of Forbes? So at Kafka Media Group, we devised what we like to call soft analytics.
Okay.
Our system's proprietary, but soft analytics is a term that I think is on the rise for everyone to be using. And it's how we take those hard analytics like impressions or unique monthly visitors or how many articles or publications per month, and how do we quantify that into something that makes more sense and is measurable in an abstract way. So it might not be a number, it might be a sentence, or how can we utilize the results of a campaign for future company goals. So that's kind of where we land on what soft analytics are.
I like it. Can you give me some, I understand like in theory, can you give me like a really practical example of what that looks like?
Yeah. So I think one great, and you can have many different types of hard analytics and you can have many different soft analytics. One hard analytic that I personally love is cool quote. And that is, say you're to get an influencer or a journalist mention your company or your product and they're saying something great. Well, that awesome sentence is a form of result that then we can utilize in some other way that's a little more abstract. So I love the cool quote. I think that there's a few others like ideas and insights of, okay, this isn't working, but I think if we did this, we can do this. These are, how do we analyze the results of a campaign or everything that has resulted, and how do we turn it into something measurable? And so I think we all bring different expertise into marketing. And that coolest part about marketing is there's a million branches of the tree. There's a million ways to do it. And soft analytics is kind of like bridging that gap between expertise and maybe traditional marketing methods.
And I like that. I think because we get so fixated on the hard metrics, especially like PR gets interesting, and I've done a little bit of PR on and off of like, okay, it got this many impressions or we got featured in X number of media outlets, but attribution does get tricky a lot of the times with PR. And so being able to say like, hey, it's not necessarily A to B direct correlation. Like it's like A to like Z and there's like 17 other things that come into here. But more of like, how is this moving our audience and changing brand perception, which is very much like a softer, maybe a soft analytic.
Yeah, it's kind of like the difference between hardware and software. Hardware is the physical things that are happening, and software is how we interpret it or change it into how we want. But I do love the idea that there is a world that is just hyper-focused on hard analytics and articles, and this is all we do. And I think those striving towards something like soft analytics are also working on this human metric, that the numbers or the machines can't add up. And so if you're working with someone who's doing soft analytics, you're working with someone who's thinking about it from a human perspective.
And this is where I think we'd go wrong so many times is we think about the hard analytics and we miss the soft analytics, which is like the humans behind everything, because behind every data point is 5, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000 people and all of their varied emotions behind that. And the bigger a company gets, the more we get focused on those hard analytics, the less or the more we lose touch then with our actual consumer, like, and the end user.
Right. And this is something that is also exciting because it's something that AI just can't do. It can do it just as well as maybe your competition and other forms of people can. But at the end of the day, when you're working with a marketing consultant or a firm or an agency, you're looking for how they do things and what kind of results they get. So even if someone else is doing a form of soft analytics, it's not going to be the same as yours. And so it becomes pretty clear when you do see the soft analytics what you're paying for. And I think that's something that a lot of people are looking for and value as well.
Yeah, I think the more we focus on the customer and I want to say brand perception, it's such a loose term though, the more the depth that the brand has and the better the rest of the marketing channels then actually work.
Right.
So with the idea of soft analytics and then knowing our customer, what kind of insights based upon kind of the experiences that you've had come only from like actually talking directly with customers?
Right. I think the insights that come are when you're getting really curious about the person that you're working with or the company, so much so that you understand what the goals are of the company, whether it's we're working on hiring, we want to bring on new investors, we want to launch a new product. If the marketing isn't just, hey, we got an article or hey, we got this new story, if it's something that's focused on complementing those goals, then that's the real goal. And that's something that can only happen with these conversations and these real human interactions.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, I think a great example would be one of our clients wanting to do a new funding round. And when you're doing a funding round, it's all about bringing a rapport and a trust to your pitch and your pitch deck. And so if we can do pitching around some of the board members or the founders and create a really strong founder story on why X, Y, and Z trust them, and look, Forbes is vouching, then it's a lot easier for other investors to invest millions of dollars because that trust has already been established through some of the marketing efforts that we've done in it. And it's not just, hey, the company is great. No, this guy is great, and you should trust him with your money.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of goes back to the idea of almost like soft skills, like the soft skills versus hard skills. And when you're pitching investors or really anybody, like what I see with investors is they want to put all the when they're pitching, they want to put all the numbers in it that they give the investors, which they need. But you need almost that like softer social proof to go with it as well to back up what you're saying, because numbers can only get you so far. Like logic, right. When we make like buying decisions, the neurons that fire in our brain don't just go through like the logical parts of our brain. Yeah. Our life would be so much easier if it did.
Yeah, we do. We make decisions based on emotions.
Yep.
And also, I think we all have a little hesitancy towards numbers maybe being misleading or not fully trusting them. That you may say this is your revenue or this is your bottom line, but how much are you fudging these numbers just because you're trying to raise funds for investment? And so that's where a third-party conversation, trust, and rapport really comes in handy.
Ooh, I like that, because you can take like, okay, if you look at the numbers across the board of the past 12 months, they may not look great, but if you only use the numbers from like the past 3 months because you get most of your business in the spring, your company looks insanely successful. So it's like it's not that the numbers are lying. It's that we're picking and choosing our numbers very carefully.
And the sad part is, I think most businesses are first and foremost focused on those hard numbers and those analytics, as they should be. But I would argue that it's still the 50% you have to think about the story and what do things mean and why should people care. And as long as you have that in focus and you have that clear and you have someone helping tell that story, the other side is going to work out better.
Yeah, I think like the more you can include like narrative into whatever you're doing, the better everything kind of just works in general.
And we could break that down right here. It's so easy. It's just beginning, middle, and end.
Okay.
What is that hook? Why should people care? What is that meat? What is that the goods? What am I offering? And then what is the resolution here? What is the emotional resonance? Why I'm going to be thinking about this tomorrow? Those three things, just beginning, middle, and end with every decision. That's how it works.
So let's put that in the context of like a normal. Okay, I know you work with. Give me a couple of your target audiences that you work with a lot.
Yeah, so we work in the health, technology, and entertainment space. One of our clients being Simon Med Imaging, and so they're opening new imaging centers all throughout the country, the fastest growing imaging, and so it's driving new product, this all-in-one full body scan, and you may have heard about these, and they're very popular. Simon Med is also on the forefront, doing the best job in the highest tech and technology for these scans. And so, what is that story that we're telling about preventative care, and leading through, on a large part, influencer relations. And I think that influencers are just, the newest form of this trust, this media trust that we have, that before we had all these traditional media outlets and we see them consolidating, but more and more we're finding that there's great audiences and great trust found in influencers, and not paid influencers, but just like PR earned, that they're writing about this full body scan because it's something that they believe in.
Yeah, and well, you see right now, like so many people having to go travel outside the United States to get any sort of healthcare done.
Right.
And so if I broke a bone, it's cheaper for me to go fly to Europe to get it fixed and come back than it is for me to walk into a emergency room right now.
Right. It's definitely something that we care about, and we are a boutique specialized agency. We can't work with everyone, so we're careful who are working on things that we kind of care about and who are giving back. And Turquoise Health is a great example of that, in that they are a price transparency platform helping hospitals.
Today's episode is sponsored by Inkbound, the new marketing channel for brands and businesses of all shapes and sizes. If you're getting tired of digital, just like your customers, there's a new way for you to both acquire customers as well as increase your customer retention. You can head over to tryinkbound.com for more information.
And different companies create very clear price transparency for different medical costs and hospital costs.
Yeah.
And so that's something that's on the rise as well.
So with the first one that was targeting consumers with like the full body scan, right, what does it look like for a company like that to go from I'm only looking at the hard analytics that are in my dashboard to I'm going to talk to and engage with my customers to figure out like what are the soft things that actually matter to them.
Right. So that's what's great about also working with influencers, or just any media, but influencers specifically don't hold back with their thoughts, and so when you're collecting all this data like testimonials or the cool quotes or high valued statements or shares, what you're doing is you're creating an arsenal of feedback, and that then you could reutilize for your own social media. You can reshare and you could retell those stories, because one placement in a publication is awesome, especially top tier, but when you're creating conversations that are self-generating and that are just continuing to roll, and that you see an influencer post something, you go get the scan, you post something, and then it's a cascade that becomes a lot more effective.
So is it more social listening compared to I'm running focus groups?
I think that focus groups are definitely something that can be very useful and interesting, but if you're developing something at the same time with the users, you have a more strategic advantage, that you don't have to be told what the story is and then roll with it. That at least the way that we look at it, maybe because of my advertising background, is that we don't just take announcements and spread it out to the world. let's craft what that story is, and like let's
Right.
work backwards. Hey, from a marketing standpoint, we've noticed this. What if we implement this new design in the product, or add this new page for people to log into, and now we're not only making an announcement, but we're also generating what that story is. And I think that takes a little more work in the beginning, and then it just helps a lot more once you get it rolling.
Out of all of the clients that you've had, what's kind of like the best narrative that you've told? I know that's a loaded question. I know that's a loaded question.
I love your specific questions. I off the top of my head, I think about Masterclass. Masterclass.com is a streaming service for training, and they were working on this new enterprise angle of learning these soft skills, but at work, and they called it Masterclass at Work. So we helped get a lot of intrigue into that. And so I love the whole story about bettering yourself, and that there are these things that you can learn through this service that will help you do better in your work and in your own life. And so when you're talking about stories that sell, I think that people are most interested in stories that affect them, and there's nothing more instrumental to someone's life than education.
So with Masterclass, because I think a lot of us who are listening to this podcast are pretty familiar with Masterclass, kind of not a knockoff of TED, but similar to TED and TED conferences.
Right, and I know you've been involved with TED conferences.
I have been. So with Masterclass, how do you in normal Masterclass world, what I'm familiar with is like the B2C targeting. They're targeting average consumers. It's $12-ish, give or take, per month. How do you flip the narrative from going from B2B to being B2C?
Yeah, I think that is probably something a lot of people think are so opposed to each other, that on the other side of C isn't, or on the other side of B isn't a C, you know? And so we never like to think of it in those terms. I think that there are different outlets and different audiences, but one of the most powerful things that you can do is introduce new audiences for like engagement. So even jumping back into the full body scan, there might be an influencer and they're famous for giving tax advice, and then they're going to get a full body scan and tell their audience. Now we're not just going after the traditional people are already interested in health and full body scans, but new audiences that never have maybe thought about that before. So I think our approach when thinking about the consumer and the enterprise side are very similar in that what is the value to the end user, the end person, and how is that making a difference? And whether that's Fortune or Forbes or People Magazine, if there's a story there and it resonates well, then both sides will cover it.
Okay, I like it. Did any of the mix between soft analytics, hard analytics kind of shift when you started targeting enterprise for them?
Yeah, great. Let me think about that. Of course, yeah, I think that you take things as campaigns and as you go, and the way that you talk about one campaign is going to be different than you talk about another campaign or whatever that goal is. And so when you're analyzing the results of a campaign or a piece of coverage or sound bites, the cool quotes that you may grab from someone focused on the consumer side may not be the same cool quotes that you're going to push for on the enterprise side. So yeah, you re-break it down, you re-look at the analytics. What is the brand sentiment? What are people feeling? Are these positive, negative, or neutral, the response? And how can we gear the conversation towards where we want? And so I really do think that you take things on a monthly basis. It's great to look at things in a macro, long-term sense, but you can get lost pretty quickly because things change and the media landscape changes so quickly that if you're not willing to, and able to pivot and move month to month, then you're going to kind of fall behind.
I like that, and that's the interesting thing, and the fun and annoying challenge of marketing is that it compared to other industries, it changes every 30 seconds.
Right, right. And the distribution platforms or who we find credible, it does continually change. I love that aspect. I think that we're always going to have the two sides. We're going to have the creation and we're going to have the distribution. Now, what creation platforms are we going to have and what distribution platforms we're going to have in the future? No one's quite sure, but we are sure that there's always going to be the two.
I like it. So I'm going to pivot back to something we talked about a little bit earlier because I wanted to go more in depth. So with collecting customer stories, testimonial, influencer clips, pull quotes, how do you go about keeping track of all of this?
Right. So we developed our own, type of CRM or tracking platform where we can categorize and log things because AI is all, one to be able to review things is important in a long-term scope and reporting fashion. But two, I think that we're in a great trend for having AI analyze large data sets in ways that we've never been able to possibly comprehend in the past. I think they would be more vague, large numbers. And now we can see things like this person has talked about this in the past, and they're more receptive to these kind of pitches on this kind of trend. And so we're able to take a lot of that data, as long as it's organized properly and simplicity, then we can represent new strategies just based off these large data sets of just keeping track of everything. And so that's an interesting question of just like organization.
Yeah.
And that's something that we take very serious because we do think that as long as we move forward with our organization over the course of the next 5 years, it's going to pay off tenfold.
Yeah. Do you, with the pulling of this data into the system, the library, whatever you want to call it, is that done generally manually, or do you have systems and AIs built for like searching for XYZ term and then it scrapes that
There's
data?
definitely AIs that claim that they can do things like this. And I think that we maybe will use some just to maybe gut check or double check certain things. But unfortunately, we're a little far away from AI doing a good enough job that we can trust them or to let go. And until you can fully let go, there's still a large amount of work. And so, I think that there might be a future where we get closer to that, but unfortunately, AI is not the smartest right now.
Okay, I like it. So, Pierce, I've asked you a lot of questions today.
Yeah.
What is the one question that I have not asked you that you wish I had?
Well, I think just off the top of my head today, I've been thinking a lot about influencers, and I know I've brought it up. I think that I'd love to talk a little bit more about hyper local influencers.
Ooh, okay. Because usually, a lot of times you have different categories of influencers. You got the big ones that are usually industry specific, and you go niche and micro. We hear less about the ones that are on a geographical base. So tell me what you got for me.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a big part of it. If you're doing a local activation or a show in a specific city, you'd want the influencers in that specific city. But I also think that there's some more powerful influencers, like your good friend who maybe only has 200 followers, but you trust whatever they have to say. How can we get to them? How can they post? Because we know that you're going to take their word and move forward with it. I think from an advertising standpoint, and maybe we do kind of mesh between the earned media, I think it's a lot more powerful. Stories are when they're not paid for, when it's not clearly an ad. Yep. And that's why publicity or earned media is so powerful. So what we've been focusing on this last few years are how do we target, like on a macro level, micro influencers, people between a few thousand to 40,000 followers, or even less, on a large scale, without having to DM them or pay them. It gets very expensive. I think traditionally everyone thinks about influencers as this very expensive thing, and it is for sure.
Right.
And there is a subset if that's what you want to pay for. But when you want something genuine and you're crafting stories that offer something to these people, then you don't need to pay. And it's kind of like the conversation that we're having today. We're talking great education and value for the viewer. And so refocusing on how can we add value to everyone and how can we reach larger swaths of people. That's where our focus is on. And I think that's where we're kind of moving in the future.
Yeah, and I think like the micro influencers are a little bit newer to this space, and it means that one, their cost of what you're gonna pay them is going to be less. Also, simply because they have less followers, but also I think there's a degree to which their content is more raw because they are doing less deals. It's less raw in terms of like the video quality, to be honest, which makes it more.
It seems real. It seems like I can trust them because this isn't highly edited. This is them holding the camera, saying it, and their top 20 friends are taking them a lot more serious.
Yeah, compared to like the larger influencers, so like Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, like as their influencers, where it's like, okay, anytime they promote a product, paid or unpaid, I know that there's some sort of kickback from them.
Right.
And simply because now they get so many product deals that's like every other post they're promoting something. There's almost like a sales saturation within that individual, the influencer's content to some degree. And
so we think, why should the influencer be the only one with the great deal? I think that the audience would love a great offer or a great understanding. And so if you structure and understand that not all views are created equal, then it kind of disrupts the way that everyone is thinking about influencers and social media. So that's something I'm excited to talk about and share because I love people thinking about it and working on it. And I love that we are ahead of the game with developing it. But the toughest part with implementing it with clients and new clients is that not many people have heard about it. And so I love to spread the word on soft analytics and influencer relation. And so that the market reacts.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when you put all of your money behind like one mid-sized to large influencer, you're putting a lot of trust in that one person and you're putting all your eggs in one basket. The same way, like, why would you only do marketing on like Instagram and not any of the other channels? Compared to, let me go to a micro influencer where one, they're going to have more trust with their audience, generally speaking. Two, they're going to have a higher engagement simply because of what we know about how these algorithms work. And three, you're not putting all your eggs in the same freaking basket.
Right. And I also think that it's an untapped market, so that there's no bad way of doing marketing. There's a lot of different ways, and hey, maybe the $40 million brand deal with a big celebrity proves worthwhile, but especially with where we're at, I think what gets the best bang for the buck has always been the things on the frontier or things that are new.
Yep.
And so as long as you're pushing the way you're doing storytelling and finding new audiences, you're going to find it works a lot easier because there's untapped audience just waiting.
I like it. So we're going to pivot again to do some rapid fire questions.
I'm here.
This is whatever comes to mind, 100% unfiltered, industry agnostic, channel agnostic. You've been in marketing long enough to kind of know the landscape of everything. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, number one, most overrated marketing channel right now.
Instagram.
Most underrated marketing channel right now.
LinkedIn.
If you had to start a non-marketing business tomorrow, what would it be?
Maybe video production.
Okay, something that's not even tangentially marketing related.
Is a publishing company marketing related?
I'm down for publishing. Okay. If you have $20K to grow a publishing company right now, how are you spending it?
On finding unique, emerging, interesting voices of writers.
What is one marketing hill that you will die on?
That earned media and publicity is the most powerful tool we have in the box in terms of marketing.
What is the best marketing campaign you have ever seen?
Love the got milk conversation and trend, and celebrities wanting to participate.
Okay, that's a throwback to the 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, I'm here for it. Well, Pierce, thank you so much for coming on the show today. If people would like to connect with you further, what's the best way for them to find you?
They can find us at Kafka.com. That's Kafka, or on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/Kafka Media Group, or Instagram at Kafka Media Group, or just follow me at Pierce Kafka on Instagram.
I love it. For everyone tuning in today, thank you so much for joining, and we'll catch you on the next episode of...
Thank you for having me. This has been fun.